I love these. Who knew there were cobalt blue mason jars? So I arrived last night, and the first thing that happened is someone handed me a jar. And I didn't know there was a drug test involved, but I did what I could. But it wasn't this jar. We will take frequent breaks during the day, and we've determined that we are limited in this only by the temporal demands of plumbing. So there are other restrooms available over in the other room over there, Sam. One of the things that probably most people encounter when they first come across Ho'oponopono and the four phrases is, what order are they in? And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. And our next presenter last night said, yeah, me too, because for the longest time, I was telling people, I'm sorry, I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. So it's all in the intonation. And I asked him how he would like to be introduced, and he said, as His Most Supreme Holiness. And I went, okay, all right. So I will have to read some of this because there was no way I could memorize it all. But Harry B. Happy Bartholomew is a former Buddhist monk. He's a music producer, energy healer, practicing and teaching Reiki, Adhistara healing, I think I got that right, medicine, Buddha healing, and I love this part, the 42 eyes and hands of the Great Compassion Sutra. Yeah. And he first started practicing Ho'opono in 2008. And when I glanced at these notes, I saw one of his main practices is his work doing empowerments using gangs. And I, well, that's pretty cool. And then I looked closer, no, it's gongs. Singing bowls and Ho'oponopono. So please welcome Harry B. Happy Bartholomew.
So I'm actually just going to take a second down here and say hello. But then I'm going to go upstairs and let's get to the meat of all this, which is experiencing what Ho'oponopono with gongs feels like. And then after that, we're going to talk about doing some empowerments. But one story I want to share before I start with the gongs is usually I've got a studio that I'm sitting and rehearsing in, so I go and I play and I go and I play. And after one of my seminars, I actually took everything home because I wanted to work on some new things for a recording. And I had them set up around the altar, and I would sit every morning in meditation. And at some point in my meditation, I'm going, what's going on here? So obviously it wasn't that deep of a meditation. And what was happening was that my mind had been kind of racing around, and I was thinking about, what am I going to do? Instead of sitting and just being with my meditation, I was thinking about the gongs, I was thinking about my clients, I was thinking about just everything that needed to get done, and everything except for what I should have been doing at that moment. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing the gongs start to vibrate. The gongs themselves are naturally at zero. They just exist. But they're there as a tool to help everybody. Some people see them as musical instruments, some people see them as healing tools. But at that moment, they started vibrating. When they did that, I went, oh, I'm out of balance. They're clearing because I'm out of balance. And so their experience of me being out of balance, they're saying, well, we're going to bring ourselves back to zero. And they started clearing. It was the most unusual and one of the coolest moments in recent history. And it's one of the reasons why I do things the way I do, why I do the Ho'oponopono with gongs. They expressed their interest of wanting to be used as that kind of a tool. And when I'm told that loudly that that's the tool that they want to be, I listen. So right now, I'm going to go upstairs. All I really want is for you to sit back, relax, close your eyes, open your eyes. It doesn't make any difference, but clean. Because I want you to experience, as the gongs are cleaning, as I'm cleaning, what does it feel like when you're cleaning with us? And I think if everybody's cleaning at the same time, this place is going to explode. So sit back, relax, and we'll get started. So it came forth, they wanted to kind of be in triplets. Three's a very sacred number for me, but it was within the triplets that I started chanting, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you." And as I started playing, as you see, they would be soft, they would rise up and get very strong and go back to being soft. If you had your eyes open, you may have noticed that I looked over my shoulder because I'm kind of watching the room and watching what's going on with everybody. I can feel things inside of me, but I kind of also want to see and look at what's happening, look at what's going on with each individual person, so that by the time I finish, I feel like we're all at a good relative place of, if not perfect zero, zero average. So as I'm going, it's what do I feel inside? That's what inspires me to play the gongs. At one point, I thought I was finished, and they were like, "No, we're still having fun, you keep going." I'm like, okay. And then finally at the end, they wanted to, we'd been empowering with the 4 phrases. At the end, when you heard me wash, it was taking all of the crap that was coming up from everybody and once again clearing this room. It was, we've all been looking after ourselves, but they wanted to do something for the room. Because once again, what did Joe say a little bit earlier? Everything is alive. And it's true, the gongs are alive. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I grew up as a percussionist, as a sound engineer, and it's like if somebody had told me that the microphone I'm wearing right now was alive way back then, I would have laughed at them. But in actuality, we've got a battery inside of here. If anything's alive, the microphone's alive right now. So that's how I approach empowerments. I love working with the gongs because the gongs distract the body from overthinking. And during that time, they give us the opportunity to just sit and be with ourselves, to just sit and be able to clean. There's a reason why they call it a gong immersion, a gong wash. So many people, if you look around the country and there are different gong players, they always refer to their performances as a gong wash. Hey, come and check out this gong wash. It's because it's washing over us. And so as we begin to clean, it keeps us from attaching to all of the crap, because we're cleaning, but sometimes we hold it all right here and go, okay, well, I want to clean, but I still want to hold it. And that's what we're trying to do, is get rid of all of that holding, get rid of all of the crap that we've been building up for, well, from my point of it would be for lifetimes. Because sometimes I see things, I go, well, I know that's me. It's like I can even feel it's me, but it sure doesn't feel like anything that I've experienced in this lifetime. I was like, okay, let it all go. So there are a couple of things I'd like to get through to everybody today, and one of them is a little bit off topic for empowerments, but extremely important, and I have a feeling that there's 2 or 3 other speakers today that will be putting this through to you, which is, how many people here are either massage therapists or healers? Yeah, a good number. So when we work on people, and I experienced this for many years, I'd go work on somebody that had a bad knee, and I'm going and I'm sending energy to them, and suddenly 2 days later, my left knee is hurting me. Or I go work with somebody with liver cancer, and all of a sudden there's just an imbalance in the liver. And it happens over and over again, dealing with somebody with certain emotions, and I start seeing my emotions take on their symptoms. Well, I didn't have this technique back then. And even though I went to trees and I would ground and I would do all of these different techniques, they never seemed to fully clear what was going on. So, that being said, when I started really working with hooponopono, And I'm clearing myself, but I was never thinking about it in terms of clearing after clients. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there clearing and clearing and clearing just for myself after a long day of really difficult clients. And I realized that I was clearing my perception of everything that happened that day. Honestly, if we're doing our work purely, all we're ever doing when we see a client is clearing ourselves, just like Dr. Joe said earlier. We're the only people that we need to clean in order to help our clients. They're here. They come to us to experience what it is we do. And I think it's amusing that what we're doing most of the time is just clearing ourselves. Always clear after seeing clients. Don't take their stuff on. One of my most profound teachers gave me a mantra very early on, and he goes, I'm going to give you the most powerful mantra you'll ever know. Now, I went back to him and I taught him hooponopono. And he goes, okay, maybe you've given me the greatest mantra that I know, because it made sense to him. His first one, though, was let go. No matter what, just let go. And so very early on, that's the first mantra I teach people. And they're looking for a great Sanskrit mantra, a great Pali mantra. They're looking for this beautiful sutra. I said, okay, this is called the Sutra of Letting Go. It's true for each and every one of you. Letting go is the first step. Hooponopono takes that and actually programs it. You're not just saying, I want to let go. You're doing the work. You're becoming proactive. As my gongs became my healing tools, I realized that, well, heck, if a gong can be a healing tool, everything can be a healing tool. And anything can be a healing tool. Okay, but how do we empower each of these healing tools? And that gets us to the meat of the conversation today. There's a ton of techniques out there. The one that became the purest and the easiest to do at any given time. I should have brought one of the crystals down from upstairs. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm holding a crystal. It can be anything. It can be, well, here, I'll hold our pens. Our pens, which are already empowered. They're already cleaning tools, but I'm still going to use them anyway. Think of any situation. If you're cleaning, let's say you're cleaning a tool for a client. You want a tool to give a client something that they can work with, something that will help them to clear. Well, the reason it's going to help them to clear is because it's got your clearing vibration, so it's going to entrain them. All of a sudden they're thinking, oh, I want to clear. Or they just start letting things go. They don't even know why. It's not so much that it's doing the work, it's putting the program into the body. So I would sit and I would hold it. Whatever the crystal is, or a piece of paper, or a pen, or a CD, an amulet, any of the above. And I would just start cleaning. I would start cleaning myself. And usually I would see their issues. Their issues. And I would clean until it felt clear. Just water clear, clear as a bell. And when that point happened, and I think you've all experienced it at some time or another, you start clearing on something and you're actually thinking of one particular thing, and all of a sudden you just drop into that 0 point. When you hit that point, take a big deep breath. Hold whatever it is close to you and blow that breath into whatever it is you want to empower. Even if that empowerment is nothing more than a picture of the person that you're working on. Because your thought of them, you're telling them, this is what I felt, this is what I experienced. When I see you, this is what I experience, and so I'm clearing this. And I'm clearing that experience that I've had with you. And all of a sudden, they start becoming clear. And as they become clear, even if they resisted everything that you had done up until that point, they start to go, well, what you told me was crazy, but today I feel so much better. Today, everything in my life just seems brighter. The pains I was having aren't there. My health is getting better. So many stories. I did this technique with a friend who was in the hospital. They had tumors throughout their body. I'm getting ready to do it again for another friend who just came back from Vietnam. And so I sat with them at the hospital and I started feeling what it was they were going through. And I was cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. When I got home, I sat and thought about it more. And I knew that this person particularly loved crystals. That was one of their passions in life. And so I went and I found one of my most beautiful crystals, something that they had been to my house. They had coveted this crystal. So I was giving them something they were going to accept, something that they could accept at a very physical level. And I started working, and when it became very clear, when I felt all of these tumors, or the energy of these tumors and the energy of their attachment, what I observed and the attachment that I had to them and the attachment that I felt they had to them, when I became water clear, I took and I blew into the crystal. I think I blew maybe 9 to 12 times. Breath throughout history has been one of the most powerful empowerments that any of the monks, sadhus have ever given. It is when you go for blessings in Thailand and in India, they will sit and they will chant with you, and at the end, they will blow into your crown. This is a very powerful empowerment from them. But the power is in where they are. When they give these empowerments, they're not thinking about what they had for lunch or what they're going to have tomorrow for lunch. They weren't thinking about the bills they had to pay. They were thinking about being clear. They were thinking about giving you the ultimate blessing and being able to seal that blessing inside of you, empower you with that blessing so that you could walk through and do your work. They don't give these blessings out for you. They give these blessings out for who you will come across. They give these blessings out so that you can go out into the world and spread those blessings to more and more people. It's never about the person receiving the blessings. We just happen to get all the cool feelings right then and there, and we get to have a great experience. But it's that experience that allows you to move on. So this is one very simple but one extremely powerful technique. It's a technique that I've been using for years. It's a technique that my teachers have been using for years. I've just changed the way that I think about it, which is I become clear. Before I would sit there and think of a mantra and maybe sit there and chant, Om Namo Gavairochana Mahamudra Mani Padmajala Parvate Aham, which is the initial blessing that was done to a group of amulets that I had made back in 2010. It was 1,000,000 chants of this mantra that I had been empowered with before that I then empowered all of these amulets with. That was my first, solo experience with empowering in this technique. When I lived in Thailand, the beautiful thing was these people love amulets more than life. I tell you, Thailand is they say it's the land of Buddhas. Well, yes, it's the land of Buddha amulets. And anybody who had known me back in the, I'd say, early to mid-2000s, I probably wore 30 or 40 amulets at one time. I've tamed it way down. But it's that energy you get. It's that feeling you get because each one of these monks blew their clarity into them. Their studying, their absolute peace and calm. I've been with monks that had crazy mind, and I've been with monks that were truly at zero. And when you get to be with somebody like that, your meditation, just from sitting with them, they're not teaching you, they're not doing anything. Maybe you're walking through the Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, India, and you just see somebody sitting down, and you go and you sit next to them. And you realize, oh, that person is an amazing practitioner, and that person is completely clear. Because even if your mind's going crazy, when you sit by them, you become perfectly clear. it is extremely important that you are never working on anybody but yourself. This is how you keep yourself clear, but this is how you also help others to become clear. And we were talking about telling people, oh, you need to clean on that. Well, that's a double-edged sword to me. They don't need to be cleaning on what we're experiencing together or what I'm experiencing. They need to be cleaning on what they're experiencing. Because honestly, if that weren't the case, then I would have never learned to clear. Joe would have never learned to clean. None of you would have ever learned to clean, because there would just be one or two people out in the world who were experiencing everything and cleaning the entire world. We need people to clean. The more people that clean, the faster things become clear. And that's why I was so happy when I got the phone call from Chuck asking me, saying that Joe would like for me to come and be here this week. I'm like, absolutely. And the reasoning behind it was the hooponopono healers. And what does that actually mean? It's such a contradiction to me, but it's true. As we clean ourselves and as we allow other people to come into our experience, the more that we clean, the more that other people will actually go out into the world and clean with us. Another very, very powerful thing when it comes to empowerments is water. We all love the blue solar water. And as we work with water, if you're working with clients, I think it's important that every client drink some of the solar water, but not just the solar water by itself. If you take the glass and once again, make yourself very clear, become clear about what you're feeling. If it's out of balance, clean until it's back in balance and blow that clarity into the glass. We can sit and hold something and become clear, and it's going to accept that imprint. But the breath is chi, the breath is prana. It's a way to infuse very quickly. And if anything, I'm into the absolute fastest techniques that I can use to get the job done, because there's always somebody else. Why do we have this whole group? You could call Dr. Joe and say, can I set up an appointment and talk with you? And, okay, he'll see a few people, but he only has so many hours in a day. We have to bring groups of people like this together so that we can get to a larger group, get everybody who's asking these questions taken care of at one time. It's a matter of speed. I can only see so many people in a day. So what used to take me 3 hours now takes me a half an hour, which is better for them because it doesn't cost them quite as much. It doesn't cost them quite as much in time either. So they come, they see me, we do a session. I get to clean myself some more because that's what it's all about. But at the end, they keep going, this was the most powerful session I've ever had with you. What did you do? And over again, I say, I just worked on myself. And they go, but how can that be? And that's where the time comes in. You start talking with them, you start feeding them information, you say things like, read Zero Limits. Read this book, it will change your life, as it did me. When I first got the book and I read the opening of it, I'm like, yeah, right. Honestly, to hear it, having lived in Thailand and read books from all of these people who had these experiences with these great monks, they seem like fairy tales. I now know that they're not fairy tales because I've experienced them for myself, but they did seem like fairy tales. Well, this one seemed like a fairy tale too. And the more that I practiced, the more I realized, well, okay, I guess this could happen. I still hadn't had that awakening. But to take this crystal that I empowered for my friend, I became clear about everything They did nothing but hold the crystal, and they said, it felt like when I held the crystal that somebody came through and physically was scrubbing these tumors away. And to this day, which is now, almost 2 years, I think, no more tumors. But more than that, they went out and they bought Zero Limits at Zero. They started getting on YouTube like most of us have and looking at everything possible. I sent them the link for the hooponopono certification, and they said they didn't want to become a certified practitioner. They just wanted to learn more about how to clear themselves, because they felt like, these people talk in karma. We talk a lot in karma, and they love to own that term. They really love to own their karma. And so they said, by chanting this, I feel like I'm clearing that karma. I said, well, you are in one way. He said, you can call it whatever you want, but yes, you're clearing everything. You're clearing all of those memories. And when you clear all the memories, what happens? You start living from inspiration. In the Buddhist tradition, we chant things 10,000 times, 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times. These numbers are really important because they really seed that mantra into the body and they allow it to grow. Well, the same thing is with hooponopono. We chant these 4 phrases. I've got malas at home, and I'll sit and I'll chant it just like I do mantras. It is one of my primary mantras now, and I definitely have over 1,000,000 chants of it. But when you reach these levels, that's when that inspiration starts. When you've cleaned for that long, you start going, wow, this is coming, and this is coming, and this is coming, and you don't know what's real and what's not. And all I can say is act.